Hello everyone, thanks for clicking on today's video. My name is Sissy and I love arts and crafts and sharing my silly thoughts on random things. I have been loving making scrunchies lately. They are super fun to make and you make them out of all kinds of fabrics. I actually use a pattern that my mom bought back in 1993 and it is fantastic. I use it all the time. Do you guys ever look through your mom's stash of random crafts and find gems? I do, and it's so funny because my mom, if you asked her, would never tell you she's crafty. But especially when I was a kid, I remember her making so many of my Halloween costumes, sometimes for the whole family. She was really into themed group costumes. Like one year when I just had one little brother at the time, we did Goldilocks and the Three Bears, and I was Goldilocks, and my parents and baby brother were bears, and my mom made all the costumes, and they were just stunning and adorable. Sometimes she would alter or even make entire dance costumes for me back in the day. She did cross stitch and she was really good at decorating rooms. Like she stencil painted sheep onto my wall in my bedroom and handmade curtains. She also, and this was when we had a mini orchard on our property when I was little. We all live in cities now, so bummer. She would make incredible jams and jellies and pies because, as she says, why waste all that fruit? It was literally falling off the trees. I love my mom. Anyway, she will tell you today that she's not a crafty person, which is so untrue. I mean, come on, I've got to have gotten the craft bug somewhere. So when I find these fun little patterns like this one to make scrunchies, I love to call her up and say, "Remember when you made this?" And she always has a funny little story to tell. The only thing I don't care for with this pattern, or any pattern that calls for this step, is the hand sewing. I absolutely detest hand sewing. I'm not great at it. I don't have the patience for it, and it's time consuming. But I do love how these scrunchies come out. Now, on to today's topic, which is all about nostalgia. I will probably be dating myself so hard in today's topic, but I thought it would be fun to take a trip down memory lane and talk about nostalgia or reminisce about things of the past. Not too long ago, I saw a blurb saying that Netflix is trying to have physical stores like the old Blockbuster. Who knows if this article was even true, TBH. And it made me think of the places that have come and gone in my youth. Like these scrunchies I'm making in the background. Talk about deja vu. I wore scrunchies all the time. I'm not going to lie, when I first saw that scrunchies were a thing again, I felt so old. As a kid of the 90s, I had scrunchies that matched almost all of my outfits. And do you guys remember those little plastic clips that were usually butterfly shaped or something like that? And if you put just slightly too much hair in the clip or even held them in a funny way, they would instantly break. And then you'd tear up a little bit because, of course, it was your favorite color that broke. And then your mom would have to reassure you it was okay, even though she was probably thinking she spent way too much on these stupid little hair clips. Oh, and those giant bows, like the ones from Sailor Moon type bows, wore those all the time too. Those would be fun to wear again. Those were the days. Anyway, I kind of had mixed feelings seeing these scrunchies come back into popularity, especially when I became a teenager and was pretty much instantly turned off by them because I was quote unquote all grown up. But seeing teenagers, kids, and adults walking around all wearing them today, even the cool kids, you know who I'm talking about, has been a little strange and nostalgic at the same time. Of course, I still had some scrunchies from my earlier years, so I was able to scrounge them up, dust them off, and wear them again. And here I am making them. I do like them. They are more comfortable than a hair tie, and they add a cuteness to your hair that is so much easier than trying to put in a clip in the right place or pin up that one strand that is so stubborn and obnoxious. Plus, they are super fun to make. Then there's Blockbuster, like I mentioned in the beginning. Blockbuster was such a fun place to go as a kid. It always smelled like a gym, and there was usually just like one dude in the store at the counter, and it was either some teenager with their first job or some middle aged guy who, like, kind of stared around the store a little creepily. You know the one. We used to go maybe once or twice a week when our parents would go out for their date night, and we would run straight to the kids section and bicker over a movie for the night. Sometimes my mom would each let us pick out a VHS tape, sometimes we would take turns, but I feel like we usually agreed for the most part. I think we often checked out the same movie, like a Scooby Doo or something, week after week. Sometimes we were allowed to walk around the store, but I remember there were certain aisles we were not allowed to go down. We would look at the staff picks of the week too, but they were usually something weird or at least something we were not allowed to watch. We were pretty little then, so I wouldn't say the films were inappropriate, just above our age range. It was exciting when we got to scan the VHS tapes at the counter, and it was also always fun returning the tapes when we were done. Do you remember? I think it was on the box where it would say to please rewind. My dad had this machine, and all it did was rewind VHS tapes. It was shaped like a red Ferrari, and it was fun putting the VHS tape in the quote unquote car and rewinding the tape. Do you remember what an issue it was whenever the tape got jammed in the player? Ugh. Speaking of VHS tapes, we had the entire Disney collection of films from the Disney Vault years. Remember those? I also remember when we got a brand new Nintendo 64 console. It was absolutely the coolest thing ever, and the graphics were so good for the time. I remember when we would have to blow into the cartridges to get the dust out of the game if it ever got glitchy. It usually worked. Is Toys R Us still around? I thought they had gone away, but then I thought I had heard that they came back or something. I don't know. Either way, I always had fond memories of the occasional treat of getting to go to Toys R Us and other toy stores like the ones in the mall. Sometimes we would get to leave with a toy, whether it was Lego or Barbie or Pokemon cards or something like that. The mall toy stores, however, we usually just looked around because they were too expensive. Playmobil was another brand of toy we enjoyed playing with as kids, and I remember they were quite expensive at the fancy toy stores, and my mom had ways of finding the same toys at better prices elsewhere. I remember my grandmother buying me a stuffed horse plush from FAO Schwartz, which was a super expensive toy store, and I think I still have the horse. Because I am the daughter of an engineer, I think back fondly on the days and days and days we would spend at Fry's Electronics. My dad often needed some cord or mouse or keyboard or something obscure for a computer that very few places had, and these were in the days before Amazon really took off, so we would spend what felt like hours at Fry's Electronics while my dad looked for what he needed. The stores were cool though because each one had a different theme, and you can bet I've been to most of them. My personal favorite was the aquarium, maybe Atlantis themed fries, where they had a bunch of cool, huge fish tanks. I recently saw an article saying that all Fry's Electronics were closing, and I sent it to my dad, and we both reminisced and got a little sad about an era that is now bygone. As tiring as it was for a little kid, it just hits different, going to a sweaty smelling, freezing cold store to search for items that you won't find, being assisted by someone who really has no clue what you were talking about, then Googling what you need, pressing checkout, and having it arrive at your doorstep in a few days. I guess there's still Best Buy. I know there's so many more places that I can't even think of right now. Every now and again, I get like that deja vu feeling or that twinge, I guess, where something makes me think of one of these memories and I smile a little when that happens. It's really nice when fond memories are triggered, not so much when cringe memories are triggered. Like when something makes you remember that horribly awful, embarrassing thing you did once, or like when you made a mistake and you will never let yourself down for that one again, or like you accidentally upset someone, like a customer or coworker, when you totally didn't mean to, and you will regret that moment for the rest of your life. Anyway, that was fun talking about the good memories. What places from your childhood do you remember and loved? I hope you enjoyed this video and thank you so much for listening. Please like and subscribe. Have an amazing day, and I'll talk to you again soon.